All right, from Broman Field, welcome to tonight's broadcast of high school lacrosse as the Blue Devils play host to the visiting Cyclones of Eastern View. I'm Mark O'Connell, joined as always by Jeff Say, man behind the camera, Johnny Krawchuk, one and only. And we're live again tonight, so we give our thanks and extend our appreciation to Nicole Wooten back in the studio at the Culpeper Media Network. Well, Jeff, it's good to see you again. We were last in action on last Monday when Eastern View played Orange County. Unfortunately for Eastern View, they haven't been in action since. So I'm sure that they're really itching to get things going here tonight against Culpeper and try to build on maybe what they learned a week ago.
Well, the Cyclones, Mark, are still looking for their first win in the past 2 years. They came so close in that 11-10 loss to Orange. I was really impressed with the play of the Cyclones. They had a chance late in the game, and I was really impressed with how well they played and how they came back down the stretch. Culpeper is 1-2, and they are building on some youthful enthusiasm, according to their head coach, Robbie Wycheck. So looking forward to a very good matchup here tonight of the crosstown rivals.
Yeah, and so a couple of coaches that have several things in common. Chris Frazier, Robbie Wycheck, both went to Culpeper High School. Robbie was a graduate in 2007. Chris in 2011. Both have had about the same amount of time coaching when you combine assistant coaching with head coaching. So it's a good matchup. I was wondering about the psychological effect. I know it's tough to really sort of measure it, but remember we talked in the game a week ago about how Eastern View last year dropped some heartbreakers by 1 goal, 2 goals, whatever, and then they were right there, right on the cusp of maybe winning, but then losing by a goal again. Wondering psychologically if that was like, oh no, here we go again.
Well, we talked about it. It's high school kids, Mark. I mean, you're going to be doubting yourself at some point. So for Eastern View and Coach Frazier, they've just got to get over that. They've got to talk about, this is going to be the game that we are going to win by a goal, that we're going to win by 2 goals. All they have to do is play their game, execute, and play good defense in front of their rock, Matt Greenfield, in goal.
Well, speaking of goal, now Matt Greenfield had a good game, as did Reese Horn of Orange in that game. But tonight, Culpeper's goalie, Riker Simpson, he's only a freshman, but he's impressed his coach. One of the things that Coach Wysick said to me was that, look, whether you're a freshman or a senior or anything in between, the standard's the same. We expect, if you're starting, we expect you to do good things, and he's adapting to that position. The good news there, Jeff, is that if you're a freshman, they've got 4 seasons with you.
Absolutely. And I immediately think, having talked to Robbie Wysick earlier tonight, I immediately think of another freshman goalie that we were wondering, what would this young kid be doing? And Jackson Tyler turned out to be a stalwart for the Blue Devils for years. And you mentioned you get that early start, you get going right your freshman year, you build the camaraderie with your defense, you build those relationships, and they want to win for you. And that is what Simpson has going for him, that he is able to start building those relationships this year. And then in 4 years, we're going to be talking about him as possible all-district, maybe all-state.
Well, and of course, Matt Greenfield was all-district last year for Eastern View. All right, let me go into tonight's keys. We've seen Eastern View. We haven't seen Culpeper yet. What do you suppose are the keys for both teams tonight?
I think for Eastern View, it's going to be able to kind of overcome and to maybe get a goal lead, so they're not thinking of here we go again, that they're able to build some momentum, defensively play strong in front of Matt Greenfield, let Greenfield make some plays, be able to clear it out and get that offense going. We talked about their offense last game, that they want to be able to build up some speed, get some fast breaks going. For Culpeper, we talk about the Roman boys. Jacob Roman's a senior. Offense starts to kind of go through him, and then they're able to build to his younger brother, Benjamin. I do believe he is a sophomore, and so the Roman boys are kind of going to be leading the offensive charge for the Blue Devils, and that youthful enthusiasm. They have a younger team, but then it's be able to build on that, get those guys confidence.
Yeah, there's really something that sort of resonates when you say Romans leading a charge, isn't it?
As long as they,
if you like history, that's
as long as they don't have a Trojan horse, we should be good.
There you go, Jeff. Looking forward to calling tonight's game with you. We are live, and we thank Nicole Wooten back in the studio for keeping everything smooth tonight. Well, Johnny again is behind the camera, and Jeff and I look forward to calling the game with you. We are at Broman Field. In the background, you can see both teams, Eastern View in the black and blue, and Culpeper decked out in the solid white with those blue numerals, Jeff. And we're at Broman Field. We're looking forward to calling it. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have the opening face-off to get it going between the Blue Devils and Cyclones right here on the Culpeper Media Network.
This broadcast is brought to you by the following community sponsors.
Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they are able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air, 718-7556. Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, a keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community. From shirts to banners and everything in between, imprint your message on the community with Cash Imprints, 317-1473. More than just a respected funeral home, Found & Sons supports youth at all levels so they can become tomorrow's leaders. Found & Sons, 825-3530.
All right, from Broman Field, welcome to tonight's broadcast of high school boys varsity lacrosse, as the Blue Devils here at Broman Field will be taking on crosstown rival Eastern View in a game that we always look forward to. I'm Mark O'Connell alongside Jeff Say, as always, Johnny Krawchuk up top behind the camera, and Nicole Wooten back in the studio at the Culpeper Media Network. Well, this is our second game to broadcast this season, Jeff. Kind of off to a slow start with some of the cancellations and that sort of thing. So when we went on the air in our debut game this season, it was last Monday, and it was at Eastern View, and we saw the Cyclones play the Hornets of Orange County. It was back and forth, and it looked like it was going to be anyone's game. That 4-goal lead by Orange County turned out to be the difference because Eastern View came up a goal short. And, as we mentioned in the pregame, they haven't played since then, so you know they're itching to get things going tonight.
And we talked about their trials and tribulations from last season when they lost a couple games by goal and 2 goals, and they start this season by losing to a goal to a tough Orange team. So the Cyclones are going to be ready to get out here and erase that memory, get a fresh start. Meanwhile, the Blue Devils are 1-2, and they're looking to build on a little bit of momentum. And they have a young team, but they've got a lot of exuberance, as Robbie Wycheck put it.
Yeah, so I mentioned the Blue Devils at 1-2. They beat Fluvanna. They dropped their season opener to North Stafford, and then last night lost a close one to Charlottesville. So at 1-2 go the Blue Devils, and at 0-1 will go the Cyclones tonight. And Jeff, as much fun as we have during our lacrosse seasons, I mean, I think that it's always, you know, probably the most fun shy of the postseason is when you call an Eastern View versus Culpeper game.
We've seen some really good ones over the years, Mark. I mean, there's this real crosstown rivalry, but it's nothing really heated. It's just they are always so evenly matched. And I remember back to some years when Steve Spielman was coaching and Scott Found was coaching, and Chris Frazier was on those Culpeper teams. I think Donovan O'Brien at that time was the head coach, and there were some close games. And those ones really stand out to me as being what this rivalry is all about.
All right, here's our opening face-off. Nolan Natal of Eastern View and Sebastian Gabaret of Culpeper face off, and the Blue Devils win this opening one. So they'll go on offense here. And substitution on the fly as Culpeper sets up and takes the first shot. This one bounces over the goal. That was taken by Jacob Roman. You mentioned him in the pregame.
Yeah, I was going to be mentioning Jacob Roman quite a bit. His brother Benjamin also out there, but the offense is going to be going through Jacob Roman. He's going to make a lot of what the Blue Devils are trying to make happen as he's leading the offensive charge, and we saw him take that initial shot. If the Cyclones are going to be able to try to get something stopped here, they're going to have to key up on Roman.
And Brandon Bonfadini, they operate quite a bit in that X area. Here is Jacob Roman. Roman looking toward the goal and takes the shot. This one's wide of the mark. Coming away with it is Jacob Mills. Here's his shot. Well, this one now in play in front of the net. They'll scramble for it. We'll see who comes up with it. So right now the activity, a little bit of a flurry of some action going on in front of that Eastern View goal. And I'm sure Matt Greenfield would like to see the team move in the opposite direction toward that Blue Devil goal, Jeff, as we have Bonfadini make that Jacob Mills tripped. But
not a violation against Eastern View. Instead, it works against Culpeper. Technical violation gives the ball to the Cyclones, and now we have a whistle.
And a penalty, the first one of the game. Mark was about to point out those first 3 shots from the Blue Devils, all by Roman, and Greenfield on that last shot with a nifty little kick save just to kick it out of the way.
Let's check that. Is there a penalty, or did the official pick it up?
Nope, there's a penalty coming. They're getting ready to announce it here.
That's a... Just talking about some of these personal fouls that we'll be calling throughout the season. Technical violations versus personal fouls.
It's on John Guillen, who's in the penalty box, so the Cyclones will be in a power play situation. And Evan Edwards starting it for Eastern View. We saw Eastern View score on a power play against Orange, so we know that they have the capability of doing so.
Eastern View's taking a shot. That's Connor Weeks. First shot on goal by Eastern View, and he finds it. It scoots past the goalie there, Riker Simpson. 1-0 Eastern View. And as you pointed out, Jeff, man-up situation for Eastern View. They took advantage of it.
And Connor Weeks, we saw him score 3 goals against Orange last week, and now getting on the scoreboard early here for the Cyclones, doing a nice job of taking that right around Riker Simpson and be able to sneak it past him here early in the game. 10-17 remaining in the first quarter, with the Cyclones holding that 1-0 lead.
After the face-off following the score, Blue Devils make it 2 for 2, winning the face-off, and we go back on offense, trailing by a goal here. Here in this first quarter, Jacob Mills has it for the Blue Devils. Here's Mills. Going to take a shot. Finds that top shelf, Jeff. And just like that, Blue Devils answer 1-1 our score with 9:48 to play.
That was all Mills right there. Did a nice job moving around the net, finding positioning. You said going top shelf and beating Greenfield with that shot, tied up at 1-1. This is going to be that type of game where it's just back and forth.
Another face-off, the third. Now, Coach Wysick told me he has 3 different people who can play that face-off position, and they're going to put them in there situationally depending on strengths and weaknesses that he sees, matchups, that sort of thing. Right now, Sebastian Gabaret has been the face-off specialist all 3 times for the Blue Devils. Well, this broadcast is brought to you in part by Cash Imprints, from shirts to banners and everything in between. Imprint your message on the community with Cash Imprints. 317-1473. We mentioned we are live again tonight. Our live sponsor is Able Heating and Air, and we'll recognize them here momentarily. All right, 1-1, Jeff. What have you seen so far?
Well, so far it's been a pretty close game. You know, they're just kind of feeling themselves out, trying to find the offensive groove. You see a shot right there by Cole Plaster.
And the save by Matthew Greenfield. So here's one thing about it. I think Culpeper said, 4 shots on goal? Or 3?
They've had 5 shots on goal, 3 of those coming from Jacob Roman early on. Mills with the goal, and then we saw a shot right there by Plaster.
I think we're going to have a penalty being called here, and it may work against Jacob Roman. 1 minute. 1 minute penalty. This is going to be Jacob Roman. The last time the Blue Devils sent a player to the penalty box, Eastern View quickly capitalized on it.
Well, we're going to be calling Jacob Roman's name quite a bit, his brother Benjamin, and I know the Roman boys fairly well. That their mom, Caroline, works at Emerald Hill Elementary School. She's a 2nd grade teacher, has worked with my wife, who's been out there for nearly 20 years, and Caroline's been out there a good bit as well. And I've seen the Roman boys growing up, so it was a reminder, Mark, that I'm getting old again when I see Jacob being a senior out here.
Yeah, you're really going to have to stop saying that as long as I'm present. I'm going to start showing you my birth certificate. And you're going to say, damn, I'm awfully young, aren't you? Right, Jeff? It's all perspective.
Young at heart, Mark, young at heart. And you've always been young at heart.
All right, Eastern View. Well, it's good that you know those things. You've got that community I almost said corrections.
That was you, not me.
Corrections. Community connections, man. You know, your wife teaching, she's going to know a lot of kids and their parents. And, of course, with your position as the Chamber of Commerce, and, of course, you've done your share of reporting in the media. So, you know, you really do get to know a lot of people in the community.
You do. I mean, and that's the beauty of Culpeper. I had a chance to go talk to the Silver Citizens this afternoon, speak with them. And Marshall Connor, that's covered a lot of sports with us over the years, and works at Kids Central, works for Parks and Rec, and he has the Silver Citizens group that meets every week, and they invited me to come out and chat. And so it was just really nice to see a lot of the folks that I recognize and get back out as we're coming back out from underneath the pandemic and just be able to talk about how great of a community we have.
Well, this is Brandon Bonfadini working his way, and he unleashes a shot that Greenfield's able to block, and then the ball is loose. He'll vie for possession. We got a whistle. And I wanted to mention this is going to be a technical violation against Culpeper. Ball back to Eastern View. You mentioned Marshall Connor. We go back a long ways. In 1999, when the Blue Devils won that Division V Group AAA State Football Championship, Marshall was a sports editor then. And we had a good season together, a lot of good memories there.
Yeah, and he was just leaving the sports realm when I came to Culpeper in 2005. He had been at the Star Exponent. He was doing some stringing for the then Culpeper Citizen. And I've known Marshall for a real long time, a real good friend of mine. He knows his Culpeper sports.
Yeah, if you I don't know. I know he likes to fish. I don't know if he plays the bagpipes or not. Do you know?
I don't believe he plays. He does the fly fishing. He's really big on that, and it's not often that I don't see him with a cigar in his mouth.
Yeah. Davion Wilkerson has it for the Cyclones. Here's some pressure by Tucker Dean. Dean makes the steal. We are tied up 1-1 with 6:39 to play. Clock ticking. First quarter action. Broman Field. This one heaved down the field. And we'll tell you, this broadcast is brought to you in part by Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, a keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community at 547-3673. Again, our special thanks to Nicole Wooten back in the studio at the Culpeper Media Network. We are live tonight, and it's always good to be live. You really feel like you're in a moment that counts that way.
Yeah. And Nicole is somebody else I've known forever. Her mom, Renee, used to be the principal out at Emerald Hill and worked with my wife. And then her twin sister, Lauren, teaches kindergarten with my wife.
Well, very nice.
Notice a theme here. It's all my wife.
Well, we were mentioning a couple other names tonight as the Cyclones go back on offense here. This is Evan Edwards, number 2, being marked and defended by Tucker Dean. And now coming over is Giovanni Corsaro of Culpeper, and Eastern View will slow it down and set its offensive attack. Winding up. This one was deflected or blocked partially by a defender. Connor Weeks now gives chase for the Cyclones and comes away with it.
Well, defensively, the Blue Devils have been doing a really nice job of breaking up plays here early on. We saw Tucker Dean make a nice stop earlier, another block.
Yeah, that one didn't make it to the goalie there, Simpson. This is Dean losing his footing. Coming away with it is Eastern View's Gavin Utley.
Mark, that's something we haven't talked about is the weather. We had quite a bit of rain late last week that washed out a couple of games and washed out a few other things going on in the community.
Wow, look at this one. Letting this one rip was number 7. That is Donovan Elliott. And he gives Eastern View a 1-goal lead. 4:59 to play.
Well, I was just about to mention the footing there, and Donovan Elliott really didn't have to move much. He just was able to stop top of the key and take a nice sidearm shot and be able to get it past Simpson. Beautiful play by Donovan Elliott.
All right, we mentioned we're live this year. Our live sponsor is Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they are able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air at 718-75-56. All right, we resume action. Blue Devils win the face-off, but they're down a goal now. Here in front, they take a shot, and it looks like they've scored, and it is by John Gillen. What is it
goal,
with Culpeper? As soon as
Dylan
Eastern View scores, it's like, okay, we're going to match you here.
Absolutely, and I think that might have been that was Dylan Shiflett, number 5.
Not Gillen?
No, I think that's Shiflett there that was celebrating, and I'm not sure if that was a shot or if that was an errant pass, and then was able to sneak past Greenfield.
Well, in any event, it's 2-all. 4:40 to play, first quarter action. Face off once again. This time, the Cyclones win this one. On the run was Connor Weeks, and that shot of his hit the post. Karam's out of there, and here are the Cyclones coming away with it. Number 22 is Nolan Natal. Here is Connor Weeks in front of goal. Bounce shot just wide of the mark. And giving chase there is Nathan Hewick of Culpeper. Going to inbound it. And defending over there is Gavin Utley.
Nice stop there by Riker Simpson. We talked about the freshman. Freshman Riker Simpson, and there's a long line of freshman goalies. That one gets past him.
Yeah, I was trying to keep up with it there. Was this number 22?
I think that was number 8. That was Owen Butler with that shot, I think.
You got better eyes than I.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was number 8. That would have been Owen Butler with that shot. You mentioned Nolan Natali. He was there with them, but that was Butler that came away with that shot that trickled past Riker Simpson. Was just mentioned that Simpson's a freshman goalie, Mark, and we've seen a lot of freshman goalies here for the Blue Devils. Mentioned Jackson Tyler.
Before we get to that, let's go back to this face-off here because Culpeper had won the first 3. Now Eastern View has won the last 2, Jeff, and that's an important feature to bring up here. Here's the shot, and we got a save by Simpson, your goalie, Riker Simpson. 3-2 our score in favor of the Cyclones.
And that's going to be a technical violation and going back to the Cyclones.
And they're going to start it with Connor Weeks. Where's jersey number 3? As he does on the gridiron, Jeff.
And Weeks offensively has really been a catalyst for the Cyclones.
All right, here is Eastern View spreading it out, looking for an opening here. They got to keep possession to do it. Tyler Dean defending, as is Giovanni Crisaro. Both teams looking for the handle, and coming away with it is Donovan Elliott. Here's Elliott. And here's a big hit. And keeping it is Derek Brown. How many times did we call his name last Monday?
Yep.
Derek Brown, Connor Weeks, Donovan Elliott, Evan Edwards, to name a few. And, of course, we mentioned Matt Greenfield a lot in goal. That was a good game, very evenly contested, don't you think?
Absolutely. That was a real good game. And Orange impressed me. I thought they really came out and played well.
Yeah. Got to scramble for it out there. This is Nathan Hewick of Culpeper. Eastern View looks like they're going to be able to inbound this one. We're down to about 2:50 to play, first quarter action. This broadcast brought to you in part by Found & Sons, more than a respected funeral home. They support youth at all levels so they can become tomorrow's leaders. That's Found & Sons at 825-3530. Whistle on the field. And, Jeff, we've mentioned this before. How do you talk about Culpeper County Lacrosse and not mention the godfather of Culpeper Lacrosse, Scotty Found?
Absolutely. I think I said that last week. Scott Found, the godfather of lacrosse. He really started the lacrosse program over at St. Luke's back in, 2002? Maybe even before that, and then brought it here to Culpeper County High School and really made them a perennial state tournament player. And Robbie Wycheck was on one of those teams when he graduated in 2007.
Evan Edwards was trying to get it out to his teammate there in front. Here's a shot and a save by Simpson. Ball loose in front of goal, and now Simpson going to be able to corral it, and he'll look for a little help. He's got 10 seconds to clear it from there, and he does. Let's see if the Blue Devils can keep possession. This is Jacob Roman. 2 minutes counting, first quarter action. Cyclones 3, Blue Devils 2.
Roman, a real senior leader out there. You see him doing some fancy footwork, be able to get away from the defenders, and that's one thing that Culpeper has is that they've got some really good finesse out there.
Winding up, taking a shot was Cole Plaster. This is wide of the intended mark. Blue Devils keep it.
And Greenfield with the save there. And Greenfield, it really came up strong against Orange, and we've seen him make some key stops here early on against the Blue Devils. He's really been the rock for the Cyclones.
This is Jacob Mills. Now winding up, taking a shot is Brandon Bonfadini. Turned away. Blue Devils keep it. 1:21 to play.
And Bonfadini, another of the teacher fraternity, his mom Carrie taught for years.
This is coming around is Jacob Mills out of that exterior, and then once he cleared it, he turned around and took the shot and scored. Now we're tied up, Jeff, 3-all with 1:14 to play. So just as we predicted, if this first quarter is indicative of how this game's going to play out in its entirety, we're going to say it's going to be back and forth and really a very close one.
Well, Mark, you astutely pointed out earlier that whenever Eastern View scores, Culpeper scores. And it's just been, it really has been that throughout the game. Eastern View scored first, Connor Weeks scored, then Jacob Mills scored for the Blue Devils, tied up. Then Donovan Elliott gave the Cyclones a lead, Dylan Shiflett tied it up, and then Butler gave the Cyclones a lead again, and now Mills with his second goal in the first quarter.
All right, Dylan Shiflett currently in possession for the Blue Devils. Being defended there. Ball is loose. Let's see who comes up with it. It's going to be Eastern View. At least for the moment, goes out of bounds. I think this will be Blue Devil ball. Under a minute to play here in this first quarter. We are at Broman Field. It's Blue Devils and Cyclones. It's 3-all. Mark O'Connell, Jeff Say, Johnny Krawczyk with you tonight. Nicole Wooten back in the studio. All right, this is going to be Jacob Roman. On the move is Roman. He's charging his way toward the net. Unleads a shot. No good. Blue Devils have it. Mills trying to get it to John Gillen. Unable to connect there. Had him right there in front of the net. That would have been a well-executed play. Instead, now back to Jacob Mills we go. Final 13 seconds. Well, we'll begin to tick off. And this is Dylan Shiflett. Will the Blue Devils get a shot on goal before this first quarter expires? We're going to say no, because this one's going to go over to the Cyclones. So there's the siren that signals the end, or we should say the horn here at Broman Field, that signals the end of the first quarter. So we've played one segment, and it's 3-all between these two teams. We'll take a break and come back for the second quarter right after this.
This broadcast is brought to you by the following community sponsors.
Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they are able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air, 718-7556. Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, a keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community. From shirts to banners and everything in between, imprint your message on the community with Cash Imprints, 317-1473. More than just a respected funeral home, Found & Sons supports youth at all levels so they can become tomorrow's leaders. Found & Sons, 825-3530.
All right, welcome back to our broadcast. We are at Broman Field. We're getting ready to start the second quarter. You're looking at the Blue Devil team there, decked out in the solid white uniforms. Head coach Robbie Wysick, and I want to talk to about his assistants, Jeff. He's got Nick Zakowski, who played defender in high school. You've got Cody Douglas. I know you remember Cody. And Austin Pickett joined the staff this year.
The Zakowski boys have played for a long time, and obviously the Douglas boys have played quite a bit. So, you know, they're all familiar with lacrosse and familiar names to the Culpeper faithful.
So that's the Blue Devil staff there. Robbie Wysick graduated from Culpeper County High School in 2007. Went to college at Marymount University. Do you know where that's located, Jeff? I'll put you on the spot.
Marymount, is that Maryland?
No, he said it's Arlington.
Arlington.
And by
okay.
that, I think he meant Virginia, not Texas.
Gotcha.
All right, what do we do to start the second quarter? We have a face-off. Who comes away with it? It's going to be the Blue Devils. They've had somewhat of an advantage in that aspect of the game so far. Jacob Roman wears jersey number 1. He has it as Evan Edwards keeps pace with him.
You know, Mark, I think about the Roman and the Connor Weeks matchup, and that, you know, they're very similar in terms of having these senior leaders out there that are really running the offense.
Well, this was a nice play. This was Mills trying to get it to Gillen, and the pass was a little errant, unable to bring it in. Ball goes out of bounds, and Eastern View will come back the other way. So with the change in the quarter, we have the change in the directions as well. So Blue Devils moving from left to right, and the Cyclones and opposite that, right to left.
Mark, you always get frustrated when there's a turnover, but that was coming off a play that was well designed.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, a millisecond, missed the timing there. So you're going to have that from time to time. So that was a good try to make that play happen.
And now we're going to have it turned back over to the Blue Devils, it looks like. No, my mistake. Cyclones, because they're going back left to right here. All right. No, we were right, weren't we? Okay. Winding up, taking a shot, sidearm was wide of the goal. And running it down, Jacob Mills for the Blue Devils. Looks like one of the teams may have called a timeout. Check it here in just a second.
Yep, we got a timeout on the field.
All right. Well, I want to say that while the team takes a timeout, we have mentioned that, we're live this year, and we have a live sponsor. It's Able Heating and Air, and they can answer any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they're able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air at 718-7556. And, Jeff, I can personally attest to their professionalism and work ethic, the good job that they do. And everybody needs HVAC service.
Absolutely. Greg and Katie are the best. They're the nicest people, and they do a wonderful job. Their staff is incredible. I know they really support technical and trade labor, so that is something our community desperately needs.
All right, Jeff, let's go a couple things here. So we're in the second quarter, 10:53 to play. We've only burned 1 minute and 7 seconds. If you will, recap for our viewing audience the scoring in that first quarter.
So Connor Weeks scored for the Cyclones with 10:17 remaining, made it 1-0. Jacob Mills tied it up for the Blue Devils with 9:48 left in the first. Donovan Elliott gave the Cyclones a 2-1 lead. Dylan Shiflett tied it up at 2-2. Owen Butler scored for the Cyclones, made it 3-2, and then Jacob Mills scored his second goal of the first quarter with 1:14 remaining, tied up 3-3.
All right, good job. And after the timeout, Brandon Bonfadini gets it started for the Blue Devils, and he gets it to his teammate there, Jacob Mills. Here's Mills looking for a player in front of goal. That was Gillen. He's in a little bit of traffic, ball on the ground, and the two teams will vie for possession. We'll see who comes away with it. Still anyone's ball. Kind of a hot potato out there, Jeff, kind of hard to handle until the goalie there, Matt Greenfield, is able to take charge.
Well, that ground ball percentage is always so important, Mark, as you see them scrambling out here again, and the Blue Devils are going to come away with the ball as Jacob Roman scoops it up.
Roman looking for Bonfadini, a little over his head, and beyond his reach, goes out of bounds, and that'll be ball to the Cyclones. We were 3-3 here in the second quarter. 10 minutes to play. Here come the Cyclones.
And Mark, if the first quarter is any indication, it's going to be Eastern View scoring and then Culpeper tying it up. There seems to be a script they're following.
Yeah, sort of a pattern there as Gavin Utley got the
Great
shot.
save by
Not
Riker
a strong
Simpson.
one. That was an easy save for Riker Simpson, the Blue Devil goalie, who understands only a freshman. And so you're talking about a player who's got a lot of development to do. And if you're starting out playing well, that gives your team a lot to look forward to, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We were talking about the long lineage of freshman goalies for the Blue Devils. Jackson Tyler, Matt Revis, we've talked about, that he got that start as freshman and really grew into the role. And then by the time they were seniors, they were all state.
Yeah, that's sort of something that's to their acclaim, isn't it?
That was something that Scott Found was very proud of, is developing those goalies, and I know Robbie Wycheck is working on that same tenet.
How about this one? Here's a pass to John Gillen, who catches it and releases the shot real quickly to score for the Blue Devils. 8:59 to play here in the second quarter. That'll break the tie at least momentarily. But as you pointed out, we've seen a pattern develop here in this game early on where one team scores and it sort of ignites a fire under the feet of the other team, and they come back and respond quickly. Let's see if the Cyclones can do that. They will send Nolan Natali out there as the face-off specialist. And so far, Sebastian Gabaret has handled that duty exclusively for the Blue Devils.
And this is the first lead for the Blue Devils that Gillen gave them. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to hang on to that one. But as you mentioned, it's been back and forth.
Starts with the face-off, of course. Blue Devils win this one. Coming through a double team there was Jacob Roman. Here's Roman. He's got a player set up, and he was in point-blank range. Firing that was John Gillen. That was wide of the mark. We've got an injured Cyclone player, if you can pick up his number.
That's Aiden Steins.
Aiden Stein.
He went down hard. I think that he got caught by a backhand there, kind of the ricochet from Guillen as he was coming through and following the follow-through on his shot.
You mentioned Henry Wolf earlier. He's out there in the field now, attending to, you said Aiden Steins?
Aiden Steins for the Cyclones.
Well, why don't we give our cameraman a break? We'll take about a 30-second break and come back right after this.
This broadcast is brought to you by the following community sponsors.
Able Heating and Air, 718-7556. Battlefield Automotive, 547-3673. Cash Imprints, 317-1473. Found & Sons, 825-3530.
All right, well, we're back. The injured player was Aiden Steins, and Jeff, we saw him walk off unassisted, really. And right after the break, here we have John Gillen set up right in front of goal, and he was kind of picked up where he left off before the injury to Aiden Stein. He scores, and now the Blue Devils have a 2-goal lead. This is the largest lead for either team.
Yeah, and you mentioned that he just picked up right where he left off, because that's exactly where he was when Steins got injured, was right in front of that goal. And then he comes back and makes good and scores for the Blue Devils. 5-3 with 8:33 remaining here in the second quarter.
All right, this broadcast brought to you in part by Cash Imprints, from shirts to banners and everything in between. Imprint your message on the community with Cash Imprints. 317-1473. Cyclones win this face-off. Derek Brown is number 13, and he had a good game last Monday, as did Connor Weeks. We talked about that game a lot. It had to be a little disappointing for the Cyclones to lose another 1-goal game. Could have gone either way, obviously. Here's the Cyclones on the attack. That was Donovan Elliott losing it. Tucker Dean has it for the Blue Devils. Here's his outlet pass downfield. Catching it in traffic's Jacob Roman, and looks like we have a whistle. The stoppage in play.
It's a timeout by the Blue Devils. They were trying to free up Roman there as he was tied up coming into the crease by the Cyclones. But I wanted to mention Tucker Dean. You just called his name. He's had a couple really good defensive plays. Really nice stick work for a long stick defender out there.
Yeah, do you think it's sort of common in a lot of sports that the defenders don't necessarily get as much of the glory as their offensive player?
Yeah, I think as a hockey guy, I see that quite a bit. You see a lot of really good offensive defensive players, and so you'll hear about the Penguins' Chris Letang, but you don't hear about all the really good defenders that are out there, and they're doing their work, keeping the goalie clean, getting the puck out of the zone, or in terms of lacrosse, just as we saw from Tucker Dean, being able to get that ball away from his goal.
Yeah, so the yeoman-like work of the defender, right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes unheralded. All right, right now we're looking at Blue Devil athletic trainer Henry Wolf tending to Aiden Steins of Eastern View at left ankle. Good job of Johnny Krawchuk to zero in on that and get a look at what ails Steins. And, of course, I always hope it's going to be a minor thing. Could just be a bruise or a sprain, right?
It could be. I thought he got hit on the backhand, kind of on the wraparound there from getting shot, but I don't know if that's the case. I'm wondering maybe some of that slick footing out there, he might have slipped and twisted his ankle. Hopefully it's nothing major.
All right, on the whistle here are the Blue Devils. Back in possession, charging toward the net, and taking the shot was Cole Plaster. No problem that time for Greenfield to turn that one away. Blue Devils will keep it. This is Bonfadini on the perimeter. Now he's got his teammate Jacob Mills in the X area. Here's Mills, going to come out of it. Going to look for his teammate. It was well conceived, but unable was John Gillen, rather, to make the reception and then take the shot.
And Mark, I was just about to comment as the Blue Devils come away with again. It seems like the Blue Devils are like sharks in the water, that they're smelling blood, and they're really circling right now and really attacking Greenfield.
How about this shot by Jacob Mills? Sidearm this one, kept it low, and Greenfield unable to just catch up with it, and now it's 6-3. So the Blue Devils have doubled up the Cyclones at this point, biggest lead of the game, when in a game that we saw was really just back and forth. Could this be a little bit indicative of the Blue Devils building a little cushion between these two teams?
And that's a hat trick for Jacob Mills, 3 goals for Mills here early in the game, and we've really seen him be able to fire off that sidearm shot. And Mark, something that I really enjoy seeing, you see a youth lacrosse team down here lining up along the sidelines, being able to checking out the play. I love being them to be able to see their high school heroes out here playing and performing, and just the love of the game is just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, over the years, have identified that phenomenon more with football, because it's been an older sport and a more, acclaimed sport in Virginia. But, Sandlot or youth football, players going to the games and seeing really their idols in the high school level, thinking, gee, one day that could be me out there. Right?
And now we have that in lacrosse. And we've got so many good youth leagues here in Culpeper: lacrosse, football, soccer. My middle one, she plays soccer. So and rugby, youth rugby, we have that here. So there's a lot of great youth leagues building that love of the sports.
Derek Brown being pressured, holding on to it, makes a nice pass, and that was David Wilkerson who took a shot, and I believe Nathan Hewitt may have gotten a piece of that to keep that one from harm's way out in front of the goalie there, Riker Simpson. Now Tucker Dean looks to inbound it for the Blue Devils.
Well, shout out again to Tucker Dean, showing some hustle as that shot went out of bounds, and he ran to mark up and be able to get the possession back for the Blue Devils. Nice hustle.
Here's a turnover. Cyclones back in possession. This is Owen Butler. Tucker Dean making a play. We're going to have a whistle. He was defending against Derek Brown.
And he was riding Brown to the ground.
No rhyme intended, right?
None.
Yeah. Derek Brown gets it over to his teammate there, Connor Weeks.
I'm a poet and I don't know it.
And now we go to Donovan Elliott. Elliott making a move here. Here's Elliott in traffic, looking for a little wiggle room to unleash a shot, and he does. And this is going to be a goal by Donovan Elliott. And Jeff, he was in traffic, and it looked like he got through about 3 defenders, and he wasn't going to have any room to do anything, and he didn't need much to make this a 6-4 game.
Donovan Elliott's speed made that one happen. You mentioned he got by 3 defenders and was able to find a little bit of space. I think he had the goal shielded in front of Riker Simpson and was able to get that shot right past.
Well, Nolan Natali of Eastern View and Sebastian Gabaret of Culpeper, face-off specialists tonight, becoming quite acquainted with each other. They've gone at it a few times, and let's see who comes up with this one. Looks like it's going to be Gabaret, at least for the moment. Teammate Brandon Bonfadini in there trying to get it, but the Cyclones come away with it. That's Nolan Natali. He's got a couple of defenders on him, looking for a little help. And again, this one a little hard to handle for some of the players tonight. Comes loose once more. A lot of back and forth here as Jacob Mills comes away with it for the Blue Devils. He's going to slow it down, and they're going to set up here on offense and a couple substitutions on the fly for the Cyclones. Here's Mills. Looking for his teammate. Oh, and that was Cole Plaster, who thought he had it, but the ball had left the webbing. Go ahead, Jeff. I think you were going to say.
I was about to say that they're really, trading it back and forth, and we see a shot. And I thought that one was going to go in the goal, but that was off to the side of the goal.
Right.
Cole Plaster, I was just thinking there, he jumped up in the air and made me think of Scottie Pippen there for a second. Not quite Michael Jordan.
Jacob Roman made the hit on Derek Brown. Uh-oh. There was a little bit of jawing going on over there, and I think the officials saw it and threw another penalty flag.
Yeah, I think they've got Roman for the initial penalty, and we're going to see if they are going to catch him for some jawing after the play. Yep, 1 minute. Now he's unreleasable. And then a technical foul as well.
So it's going to be Jacob Roman in the penalty box, and of course the last time the Blue Devils sent a player there, it only took a moment for Eastern View to score. We've got 3 minutes and 54 seconds to play in the second quarter. Our current score, Blue Devils 6, Cyclones 4. This broadcast brought to you in part by Found & Sons, which is more than a respected funeral home. They support youth at all levels so they can become tomorrow's leaders. Found & Sons at 825-3530. And Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, a keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community. 547-3673.
And Mark, I just want to quickly point out some tough love. You see Robbie Wychick was not happy with that penalty there by Roman. And then assistant coach Nick Jakowski comes over and kind of gives him a little love, a little tap on the helmet, trying to get his spirits back up. They know they're going to need him here later in this game.
And we may have another timeout being taken here. So like we do, we're down to 3:38 to play in the second quarter. 6-4 our score in favor of the Blue Devils. You recapped the scoring in that first quarter. What about this second one, Jeff?
So the Blue Devils took the lead on 2 goals by John Gillian, made it 5-3, and then Jacob Mills scored his third goal of the game, made it 6-3, and then just a little bit ago we saw Donovan Elliott score for the Cyclones, made it 6-4. 3:38 remaining now, Mark, in the second quarter.
So we talk about these coaches have been here for a while. We mentioned Robbie Wysick, graduated from Culpeper 2007, went to Marymount University. This is his 10th year overall, 4th year as a head coach. He took cover for a fellow by the name of Scott Found. I think you're familiar with him.
Well, I was going to say both coaches, very similar, both CCHS graduates, both took over for longtime coaches. Wysick taking over for Scott Found. Chris Frazier, a 2011 graduate of CCHS, taking over for Steve Spielman, who was the original coach for the Cyclones going all the way back to 2009.
And Chris Frazier, you mentioned him, 2011 graduate. He has logged up really about as many years, 4 years as an assistant coach, and now in his 4th year as a head coach. We mentioned Steve Spielman, who his predecessor. And Spielman now down in my neck of the woods operating a business.
Makes a mean pizza at Iron Pipe Brewery.
They really do. If you get a chance, go down and see him sometime. I'd love to talk lacrosse with you. I think his son Austin may be working down there with him.
Yeah, he and Austin are running it, I think he and Zach are running it together. And Austin's down there with him as well.
Evan Edwards, Donovan Elliott on the move here. Derek Brown winding up, taking a shot, and nice job by Riker Simpson to deflect that one away from goal. We've got about 3 minutes to play in this second quarter. And the Cyclones have it. Donovan Elliott winding up. This one deflected from goal. It may even hit a defender before it got to Simpson.
Was that off Dean or was that off Corsaro? That was off Corsaro.
All right. Winding up, Elliott taking a shot, and he keeps it on the ground, and he's able to beat Simpson. There he is, Donovan Elliott scoring to make it a 1-goal game. 6-5 with 2:47 to play in the second quarter.
Well, we said this was going to be a close game, and the Cyclones battling right back, trailing by 3 goals, and they've been able to score a couple there by Donovan Elliott. You mentioned that was just a nice bounce shot. He kept it low and was able to sneak it past Riker Simpson.
Really have to mix up your shots when you're a player. And so, obviously, a 3-goal lead, not enough for the Blue Devils as the Cyclones have cut into it. It's a 1-goal game here late in the second quarter. And after that face-off, Blue Devils win this one. They'll go back on attack until they throw it out of bounds, and they'll turn it back over to the Cyclones. And they'll start with Kaiser Abed. And now the goalie, Matthew Greenfield. Up the field they go for the Cyclones. This is Derek Brown, and defending against him is Sebastian Gabaret. Now Tucker Dean comes over. Where the Cyclones. There is Connor Weeks. Beats the goalie there, Simpson.
Connor Weeks.
And that was just a really quick release on the part of Weeks. And now we're tied up 6-all. So, Jeff, this is everything we thought it would be, a close game. I suspect it's going to go down to the final, maybe who has the ball last in the fourth quarter.
Well, it wouldn't be an Eastern View Culpeper game without it being close, but we talked about it. We were wondering how Eastern View would come back and how they would respond if they got down a couple of goals, because we know that they've struggled last year and then early this year against Orange. They only lost by a goal, and they only lost games by 1 goal, 2 goals, and we've talked about how that mentally can wear on high school kids. The resilience that they've shown is impressive to come back and tie it back up.
Here's Evan Edwards coming back in. Not only have they tied it up, just like that, they've taken the lead. And Edwards took it the distance off that face-off when the Cyclones took possession. And he was able to easily beat Riker Simpson, and he kept it on the ground as well. And now it looks like Evan Edwards might be a little shaken up.
I was going to say, not only did he score, but he was banged up, injured while he was scoring. And the Cyclones have done this without Aiden Steins, who was injured earlier in the game. And the Cyclones, Mark, have scored 3 goals in the span of 42 seconds.
Well, we look over there and are reminded Jacob Roman in the penalty box, too.
So those 3 goals that I just mentioned, the 3 in the 42 seconds, have all been power play goals.
So when you talk about it, I mean, you can state the obvious. You get a penalty like that, you certainly potentially hurt your team.
Absolutely. They were up 6-4 at that point when Roman was penalized, and then he was unreleasable after there was some chirping there on the field, and the referees called it on Jacob and put him in the penalty box. That's a big momentum swing. Huge.
Yeah, so now 7-6 in favor of the Cyclones. We mentioned Blue Devils head coach Robbie Wysick and his assistants. We mentioned Eastern View head coach Chris Frazier. I haven't mentioned his assistants, although it may not be plural. He mentioned only the name of David Rout so far, played at Eastern View. Helps with conditioning and works for the defense, David Rout. So I'm sure Coach Frazier happy to have you on board there. This is a team that Coach Frazier says it's pretty spread out with a lot of seniors, all these guys itching to play. Connor Weeks has done it again. Now, Jeff, you talk about a switch and the change in the momentum. The Blue Devils were up, 6-5, and now it's, 8-6 in favor of Eastern View?
Yeah, it was actually 6-4 Eastern View was up, and so they have scored 4 unanswered now. So from the span of 5:08 when Donovan Elliott scored again. Connor Weeks now has 2, and Evan Edwards added 1. And now, as you mentioned, 8-6 Cyclones. What a comeback.
Well, and of course, they did it with Jacob Roman in the penalty box, and now it looks like both teams are back to full strength. And of course, the face-off between Nolan Natali and Sebastian Gabaret. Blue Devils come away with it. This is, looks like Cole Plaster losing it. Cyclones will keep it. This is Nolan Natali across the midfield stripe. Down to 1:10 and counting here in the second quarter. This one got away from Natali, but it goes across that in line. And Connor Weeks will put it back in play for the Cyclones right here.
Mark, one thing I've noticed, there hasn't been a lot of errant shots. They really have been tactical on when they're taking their shots and how they're getting the rebounds.
This one was taken by Donovan Elliott, but the defense was able to help out Riker Simpson there in goal. 45 seconds to play here in the second quarter. This is Tucker Dean walking it up. Looks for some help, goes across the field. Nathan Hewitt, back to Dean, whistle, and stoppage. It's going to be a turnover, ball back to Eastern View.
Blue Devils not able to get it out of that defensive zone quick enough, and now the Cyclones coming back on offense.
Starting with Nolan Natali. Coming into the game is Gavin Utley for the Cyclones. They're going to spread it out. Tucker Dean's going to give chase and defend. And it looks like Dean's going to come away with it. You already mentioned Dean playing well defensively for the Blue Devils, Jeff. He takes a hit. Connor Weeks is there in position, picks it up. He's going to take a shot. This one's going to be wide of the mark. But he had an opening, and the Blue Devils breathed a sigh of relief right there that he missed that one.
Yeah, a couple defensive players out there. We mentioned Tucker Dean, Nathan Kowick has been playing well, and Giovanni Corsaro had a couple blocks when he was out there for the Blue Devils. So Blue Devils defense playing well. The Eastern View's offense is just finding a groove. I really feel like when they're on the fast break mark, the Cyclones defense is almost Cyclones offense is almost unstoppable.
Well, Davian Wilkerson on the whistle will get the play going.
Clock had to be readjusted. There's 18 seconds remaining and 16.7 now on the clock.
All right, here's Connor Weeks. Weeks. They spread it out. Derek Brown in traffic. Tucker Dean makes the steal. Here comes Dean. Final 3 seconds will tick off. Don't believe the Blue Devils will have a, nope, they won't have a chance here as the sound signals the end of the second quarter. We're halfway through, and it's Cyclones 8, Blue Devils 6. The teams go to the intermission. We'll take a break and come back for the third quarter. Right after this, you're watching Blue Devils and Cyclones Lacrosse on the Culpeper Media Network.
This broadcast is brought to you by the following community sponsors.
Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they are able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air, 718-7556. Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, a keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community. From shirts to banners and everything in between, imprint your message on the community with Cash Imprints, 317-1473. More than just a respected funeral home, Found & Sons supports youth at all levels so they can become tomorrow's leaders. Found & Sons, 825-3530.
All right, welcome back to our broadcast. We're at Broman Field. Mark O'Connell, Jeff Say, Johnny Krawchuk with you tonight. And again, Nicole Wooten back in the studio at the Culpeper Media Network. So, Jeff, our score here at halftime is 8-6 in favor of the Cyclones. And before we recap the scoring, I wanted to talk about the youthful players we've seen on the field. We've got to look at some of those right now.
That was Culpeper Lacrosse that was out here playing and getting the experience on the high school field. It just warms my heart to see that. And then to hear the kids that have played. I heard the Roman boys' names called off. I heard Nolan Natali, Connor Weeks. Those are kids that have played in the Lacrosse Association, and now they're out here playing for the high school team. So this is the future of Blue Devils and Cyclones Lacrosse walking off the field right now.
Well, Jeff, let's also recap that first half, because if for anyone in the viewing audience who missed the first half, had a couple of interesting things develop. One of those was that, it was back and forth for a while, and then the Blue Devils sort of surged ahead. I think, if my memory serves correctly, they had a 3-goal lead at one point, but it turned out that wasn't safe. Not only did Eastern View come back to tie it, they took the lead, and now they lead by 2 goals, 8-6. But I think a crucial part of that had to be the fact that Eastern View was up a man. The Blue Devils had Jacob Roman in the penalty box, and it certainly hurt them.
Absolutely. So to set the stage, Mark, it was 3-3 coming into the second quarter, and then Culpeper went on a 3-goal barrage. John Guillen scored twice, and then Jacob Mills added a goal, made it 6-3. And then the Cyclones started to make their comeback as Donovan Elliott scored, made it 6-4 with 5:08. And then that aforementioned penalty on Jacob Roman, and it was unreleasable. And then there was 3 goals by the Cyclones in the span of 42 seconds. Donovan Elliott with 1, Connor Weeks with 1, and Evan Edwards with a goal. And then Connor Weeks came back and capped it off with 1:31 left in the first half to make it 8-6. And that is the edge that the Cyclones have now coming into the second half.
All right, well done. Back to the face-off to start this third quarter, and it's the familiar faces of Sebastian Gabaret and Nolan Natale taking the honors for their respective teams. And the ball loose, we'll see who comes up with it. It's going to be Natale of Eastern View, spins away from the traffic. About 4 players chasing him, still gets through it. Good stick work there by Nolan Natale. And he gets it over to his teammate Connor Weeks as they slow it down.
Well, the offense really going through Weeks, and Derek Brown doing a nice job of moving that ball around. Natale's been getting involved, and John Guillen, we really didn't call for Culpeper. For Eastern View, Evan Edwards has been getting involved quite a bit as well.
Connor Weeks being defended by Tucker Dean, and Dean is able to jar that ball loose and come away with it. Now Connor Weeks wants to return the favor, but Dean gets it upfield. And coming away with his number 20, Austin Perez Dwyer, at least for the moment. But it's been sort of a hot potato, hard to handle situation for both teams here, as now Aiden Steins has. He went down with an injury earlier in the game. Looks like has recovered nicely. Here's Jacob Mills. Huge factor for the Blue Devils in that first half, trying to get it to his teammate John Guillen. Unable to do so as Matt Greenfield corrals it for the Cyclones. And he gets it over to Kaiser Ibed. Here comes Nolan Natale. Blue Devils give chase until they back off, and now across that midfield stripe, Natale over to Donovan Elliott. Here's Elliott looking for Derek Brown, I believe.
And he
lost it, yeah.
His stick just shattered.
So that means he comes off the field, retrieves one, back in the action. Here's Elliott in traffic, takes a hit, spins away from 2 players, and had he kept possession, he would have gotten the shot off. Nevertheless, he keeps it, and this shot easily defended by and saved by Riker Simpson.
Mark, do you remember those old Looney Tunes cartoons when the shotgun would get plugged and it would kind of just balloon? That's exactly what the stick of Elliott looked like right there as he was trying to take a shot, and it just exploded.
Well, Jeff, not only do I remember it, I'm just going to make a confession and say that, are you kidding me? I still watch Looney Tunes.
Same here.
And in fact, a good friend of mine, I sort of liken him to Yosemite Sam, and he in turn started calling me Taz, which is short for the Tasmanian Devil. Here's a shot and a save, nicely done by Riker Simpson. And so then one year, it was really nice. It was around Christmas time. I went over to his house to see him and his wife. He said, "Hey, I got something for you." You know what it was? It was a Christmas gift. You know what it was?
Tasmanian Devil.
No, it was better than that. It was a T-shirt with all the Looney Tunes characters on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would say I'm a fan still. This shot was taken by Jacob Guillen. Just, classic cartoon and all those characters. I mean, just, how can you not like it?
See, I have young kids still, Mark, so I can kind of say, hey, I can get away with it, that they like to watch the cartoons, but I'm going to be completely honest. They're watching the stuff on Disney Channel. Dad's the one turning to Boomerang to watch the Looney Tunes and the Scooby-Doo and the Tom and Jerry's, the classics.
There's an old classic there, Tom and Jerry. Well, we of course go on for days, but the comparison you made was aptly put because of how you described that action that had previously unfolded. And all of a sudden, we're down to 8:34 here in the third quarter. We haven't had a goal yet. Why not?
Well, because sticks are exploding. No, and some nice defense out there by both teams. They're both playing scrappy, making some turnovers, forcing some plays, and they're being physical coming out here in the second half.
That's Bonfadini trying to jar it loose from Kaiser Abed. All right, here come the Cyclones. They're up by 2, 8-6. About 8 minutes to play in the third quarter. Connor Weeks takes the shot, and he goes to the sidearm, keeps it low, and it rolls past, or gets past Riker Simpson, I was going to say, and now that is our first goal of the third quarter, makes it a 9-6 game, and Eastern View's biggest lead of the game.
Nice shot there by Connor Weeks. That's 4 goals for Weeks here early in the game. He had 1 in the first quarter, 2 in the second, and now 1 in the third. Weeks actually had the first goal of the game.
And it looks like the Cyclones may be going to a different face-off specialist there, Jeff. You can pick up that number. It's number 13. Well, that's Derek Brown, but the Blue Devils stay with Sebastian Gabaret here. So I think what we saw in that first half, particularly in that first quarter, you mentioned a 3-3 game, the back and forth between the two teams. One team would score, and then that would inspire the other team to really get it going. They would come back and score quickly. But that hasn't really happened since late in the second quarter, has it?
No, I mean, now it's been bursts. Early in the second quarter it was burst by Culpeper, and then late in the second quarter was a burst by the Cyclones, fueled by that unreleasable penalty when they went on a power play barrage. And now Eastern View has scored the last 6 goals. They have not allowed a Culpeper goal since 7:03 in the second quarter, and the Cyclones have amassed a 6-0 lead in that time, and they now lead 9-6.
All right, we've got, is it 2 players of Eastern View in the penalty box here?
Yeah, that's number 7. That's Donovan Elliott, who we talked about the stick exploding earlier, and Nolan Natali, both in the penalty box. So a 2-man advantage for the Blue Devils.
And I thought one of the penalties was against an illegal stick check. And so what do the Blue Devils do? They go to Brandon Bonfadini.
Blue Devil
and out
goal
there
by Brandon
centered
Bonfadini.
in front of goal. Near that top of the key, he was able to unleash one and rip that one past Matt Greenfield. So, Jeff, I got to ask you, if you look at your notes, and it's 9-7 now, 7:38 to play in the third quarter, when was Culpeper's last goal before that?
So Culpeper's last goal came at the 7:03 mark. That was Jacob Mills scored. That made it 6-3. That was the last Blue Devil goal.
In the second quarter?
In the second quarter.
But now we're in the third quarter, about 5 minutes in.
Yep.
That gives you that tells you the time that elapsed between Culpeper's 6th goal and then its most recent one, its 7th goal just a moment ago. So, and again, they were able to take advantage of that man-up situation, really a double man-up situation. He had 2 players in the penalty box, didn't they? It was a 1-minute penalty, and they're both out of the penalty box, and both teams returned to full strength.
Well, that's why that unreleasable was so key for the Cyclones, because they were able to stay a man up. Culpeper comes here and they score quickly, and now you're full strength again.
And here comes Connor Weeks on the move, and he was trying to get it to his teammate Joshua Haught. Pass thrown was behind him, and Haught tracks it down to keep it in play for the Cyclones. And right now this is Donovan Elliott in control. By the way, remind me to tell you here in just a moment who I ran into today. Jeff, another familiar figure in the Culpeper community. You just never know who you're going to run into from day to day. Winding up and letting that one rip was Donovan Elliott, wide of the mark. Mark Settle.
I was going to say, I was going to guess that it was Mark Settle. I've seen him out and about a couple of times. Really miss him over at Eastern View.
Connor Weeks turns around, takes a shot, and beats Riker Simpson. So right when the Blue Devils thought they were inching a little closer, Weeks says no, not yet. 10-7 our score, 6:21 to play here in the third quarter. Well, we mentioned we're live, and our live sponsor is Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they're able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air at 718-7556. We mentioned Mark Settle, saw him today. Looks like he's doing pretty well.
Rested.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last I saw him, he was keeping busy and enjoying his retirement.
Natali spun his way, trying to get a shot off. Not much of one as Giovanni Corsaro comes away with it for the Blue Devils. Yeah, he looked good, sounded good. You know, sort of a reminder that sometimes, I mean, I think a lot of people just sort of, you know, you become very familiar with what you do, and you don't realize how much stress you're under until you leave it.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark he's one of the really good guys of Culpeper, and he was at Eastern View for a very long time before that, you know, at Culpeper, and so he's been involved with sports since the day that I stepped on the field here at Culpeper. That's been 17 years ago. And it seems weird to not have him out here with us, but he's doing well and enjoying the retirement.
Well, here is Connor Weeks taking a shot, and this time Riker Simpson's there for the save. I think Mark told me that he had, 28 years in the education system. Mm-hmm. So yeah, within 28 years, you've earned your retirement.
Yep, yeah, I would think so. But he's mentored so many students over the years and worked with so many kids, and he's been an icon of Culpeper.
Grew up here, went to Culpeper County High School, and then, you know, of course, served as the AD over at Eastern View, and probably left some very large shoes to fill. Here is Cole Plaster. He was on the move. Blue Devils looks like they're going to keep it. I mean, this is Jacob Mills. I think he mentioned he had a hat trick in that first half, didn't he?
He did.
Here's Mills taking a shot. This one defended. Down to 4:31. This has been a fast-moving third quarter, Jeff.
It has. I really want to point out that the hustle there by Brandon Bonfadini, and something I've seen the Blue Devils doing a lot of is, you know, when the shots are going wide, their offensive players are quick to go and mark it up and track it down and be able to get that possession staying for the Blue Devils, and that is oh so important to hold on to the ball and work your offense, Mark.
Yeah, so Brandon Bonfadini wears jersey number 3. And I'll tell you somebody else who did it. Wasn't that long ago. Here's a blast from the not-so-distant past. A fellow by the name of Tristan Mullen. Do you remember him?
I remember Tristan, yeah. Just a couple years removed.
Mm-hmm. Bonfadini back up top. This is Jacob Roman.
One of these days, Mark, I'll have to print out some of my old rosters and go back through and look and remember some of the players that have worn these numbers over the years, because we've covered it for, since what, 2006, 2007?
Oh, yeah, I think it was 2007. There was a shot that was hit the side of the goal, and then the two teams battled for. I think it was back to 2007. And I think before you and I started working together, there was a season when Donovan O'Brien and I had teamed up.
Yeah, you and Donovan were doing it in a postseason, if I remember correctly, when Culpeper had gone to the state playoffs. You and Donovan hooked up and did a couple of games. And
on the move with Connor Weeks, another shot. Not a problem this time for Riker Simpson, as gets a little help out there from number 30, Finn Steffen.
We have some dirty laundry on the field. I don't know if that was a penalty that was thrown. Looks like the ref is coming to get it, so that was a penalty. I just noticed the yellow out there. And then I hooked up with you guys in 2007. I obviously had been covering lacrosse at the paper and decided I wanted to try my hand in the television biz.
Mm-hmm.
Once again. Used to do some radio back north, and I missed that.
Yeah, fun times. I know Steve Peacock and I started in radio in 1998, and we were only 2 seasons in when the Blue Devils had their best season ever in football. And of course, you know, when a team is playing that well, it certainly does make your job a lot of fun.
Well, and you're going.
Well, it hardly seems like a job.
It's
really
not a job, and you get to tell the stories of these kids, and that's the best part, and be able to see the joy on their faces and watch them grow as players, and then to win that state title. That was one of the first things I noticed when I moved to Culpeper. There used to be a sign that said the home of the 1999 state champs.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's still up or not. We had one over on Route 29. Here's a shot taken. This is wide. It was over on 29 right as you entered Culpeper County, if you were going north on 29 from Madison County, for example. And I think that one has been taken down. I don't know why, but that was up for a long time too. Here's a shot. This one is defended by Sebastian Gabaret. Cyclones, Gavin Utley.
The one I remember, the one I remember, Mark, was out on 229 out by the high school.
Okay.
And it was before, obviously, the Ira Hoffman was built, the new Ira Hoffman. And I remember it being there on the corner, and I know it's not there anymore. But I don't recall when it went away.
Yeah, I don't know either. We go back to that 99 season. The one thing that really stands out in my mind is the sentiment and civic pride and everything that so many people in this community felt. It was really galvanizing to have that football team and the people that supported the team in whatever game you'd go to. I mean, you look across the way there on a visiting game, and you would just see, blue and gold. I mean, people really supported the team. Great memories, no doubt. Here is Jacob Roman weaving his way through traffic, takes the shot, and Blue Devils will inbound this one here.
Well, obviously, Mark, that was before Eastern View was built, and so it was just that was the only high school in the county. And there, you mentioned that pride. That I still talk to people that will routinely bring up those 99 memories and talk about the players and how much that meant to them.
If you look at the personnel in that team, for example, did they have great players? Yeah, they had a few that would probably be considered better than good. But the thing about that team was that they had the chemistry and they had good players who played well consistently all the time. And that's what teams do. Good teams do those things. You can't necessarily put together an all-star team and expect them to be a winner.
And they had good coaching with Lou Sorrentino.
Absolutely. Steve Parker, Dave Boley, Todd Campbell, Greg Martz on that staff. I mean, just guys who could have been head coaches or were head coaches in the making. Just a matter of time before they all became head coaches, that sort of thing. But in any event, we come back to this lacrosse game. We're down to about 50 seconds here in the third quarter, 10-7. And I want to ask you, Jeff, as this game is played out, have the Blue Devils put themselves in a position where they're really going to not only play from behind, but find a way to get back on the offensive attack here?
Yeah, they were just working their offense down in the other zone there, Mark, and doing a good job moving the ball around, but they weren't really able to get anything going. Defensively, we see Simpson doing a good job of fighting off a couple of Cyclone shots.
Just right there, O'Donovan Elliott turned back one and keeps it a 3-goal game. Going to have to get some help from his teammates here as Evan Edwards goes to the ground, being defended on that play by Dylan Shiflett.
But we're really going to have to see the Blue Devils get their offense going, and we've seen them be able to do it when they can, get a power play or draw a penalty, and when they're able to get the ball to Jacob Roman and let Roman, fire off a shot. That's when we've seen them be really successful. So maybe get him to the top of the key again.
Final 3.3 seconds showing on the scoreboard clock here in the third quarter. 10-7 in favor of the Cyclones. And a whistle and stoppage here. I wanted to tell you this broadcast brought to you in part by Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, a keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community. 547-3673. And the officials get them set up here. 3.3 seconds showing. There's the whistle. This one's going to wind down. We've played 3 quarters here at Roman Field with our score, Cyclones 10, Blue Devils 7. We'll take a break and come back for the fourth quarter right after this.
This broadcast is brought to you by the following community sponsors.
Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they are able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air, 718-7556. Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, a keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community. From shirts to banners and everything in between, imprint your message on the community with Cash Imprints, 317-1473. More than just a respected funeral home, Found & Sons supports youth at all levels so they can become tomorrow's leaders. Found & Sons, 825-3530.
All right, welcome back to our broadcast in the Broman Field. Mark O'Connell, Jeff Say, Johnny Krawchuk with you tonight. Nicole Wooten again, we say, back in the studio, keeping things running there. All right, we start the fourth quarter. It's Cyclones 10, Blue Devils 7. Jeff, how did you see the third quarter, and what adjustments, what are the Blue Devils going to have to do in this fourth quarter to really make it a fight to the finish?
Well, that was really a low-scoring third quarter. It moved quickly, but we saw just 2 Eastern View goals, both of them by Connor Weeks, and then Brandon Bonfadini had a goal for the Blue Devils, but Weeks keeping the Cyclones in the lead, giving them a 10-7 advantage coming here into the fourth quarter. And adjustments, Culpeper's going to have to start taking a few more shots, trying to move the ball a little bit, get some fast breaks, get the ball in the stick of Jacob Roman and have him make things happen for the Blue Devils.
All right, familiar players, Nolan Natali of Eastern View and Sebastian Gabaret of Culpeper take the honors for the face-off as we start this fourth quarter. Again, 10-7 in favor of the Cyclones. And we mentioned early on that this is only Eastern View's second game of the season, thanks to cancellations and the way things have played out so far. They played their opener, the first game that is, against Orange County last Monday, 11-10 final in favor of the Fighting Hornets. Cyclones haven't played since. Blue Devils, we mentioned, 1-2. They've defeated Fluvanna, and they lost to North Stafford in their opener, and they lost to Charlottesville last night. Last night meaning Tuesday night. Now they're back in action tonight, and this is their home debut. And as we start the fourth quarter, Cyclones have slowed it down with Donovan Elliott in the X. Here comes Elliott. Pretty soon it'll go over to Weeks. You just know the offense is going to go through him. There's Weeks making his pass, taking a shot, winding it up, and letting it rip is number 13, Derek Brown. And Jeff, I've got a feeling that's Brown's first goal of the night.
It is, but he's somebody we saw a lot of against Orange, and we're really impressed with his angle and be able to take some good shots. We saw a nice sidearm shot right there by Derek Brown. Really nice job to give the Cyclones an 11-7 lead. And I was going to mention at the top of the quarter, this is something the Cyclones, they're still looking for their first win in the past 2 years. You mentioned there's been some close games. They lost that first game this year to Orange by 1 goal. Chris Frazier talked about losing a couple games last year by 2 goals, by 1 goal. Is this the game, Mark, that they're able to get over that hump?
Well, we mentioned Aiden Stein tonight, Evan Edwards, Connor Weeks, Donovan Elliott. All players have been in the offensive scheme of things. It was really only a matter of time until Derek Brown emerged. I mean, how many times we call his game in the Orange County matchup? So he strikes here to make it 11-7. 4-goal lead by Eastern View. And if you're the Cyclones, you got to like the position you're in at this time.
Yeah, absolutely. In that Orange game, we called his name quite a bit. Davion Wilkerson we called a couple of times. I haven't really called his name much tonight. I think I've heard him once, involved in a play. So the Cyclones maybe tightening it up a little bit, going with some of the guys that they know that they're really relying on. You see Brown right there with a shot.
And you're going to have to give the assist to Connor Weeks. Weeks got it to him. And
Cyclone goal, Derek Brown.
Brown was in good position there. Turned around and fired, and Riker Simpson, no chance to catch up with that one.
What a nice angle right there by Derek Brown. Did a really good job of just floating into position and taking that pass from Connor Weeks and being able to fire it past Simpson for a 5-goal lead, 12-7 here with 10:17 remaining. That's the biggest lead of the game for either team.
Well, and you go back to what we were saying about Derek Brown. So he hadn't scored in the first, second, and third quarter. His teammates were getting that done, but now they call upon him, and now he's got back-to-back goals here for the Cyclones.
Well, it shows the depth of the Cyclones, that they're really able to spread that around to Weeks, to Brown, to Donovan Elliott. We called his name quite a bit tonight. They're really shouldering the load for the Cyclones here this evening.
Connor Weeks been defended both by Giovanni Corsaro and then Nathan Hewitt. Weeks will keep it, going to try to weave his way through a double team there, and he does. Turns around, takes the shot, and it looks like Simpson was able to deflect it away from goal. But good work by Connor Weeks. Sometimes it just amazes me that a fellow on the attack like that can be in that kind of traffic, take those kind of hits, and still hold on to possession.
Was it the Timex watch? It takes a
licking and keeps on ticking.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're going back, what, a few years?
Few years. That makes me. That's what I think of when I see Connor Weeks take hits like that. And he's like the Timex watch.
Yeah. What was the guy? Was it Cameron Swayze that used to do those? I can't remember.
Patrick Swayze.
No, that's somebody else.
That's
the actor.
That was the actor.
Patrick Swayze. No,
there's a Cameron Swayze?
No, it was something. I think it made it 3 names. First, middle, last he used. He used to stand there with a trench coat on and everything. It's just, it takes a licking and keeps on ticking. Remember that from long ago. All right, Blue Devils, that is. They're trying to get it down there in front to John Gillen, unable to do so. And Brown flips it back to Greenfield. And now Greenfield's outlet.
Greenfield, earlier in the game I mentioned that Chris Frazier called Greenfield their rock, and he really has kept them in this game tonight. Did a great job of stopping the shots and really letting the momentum go back to the Cyclones. And we go back to that penalty in the third quarter, that unreleasable. That was the momentum change. That's when the Cyclones were able to score. Was it 6 straight goals after that?
And now Jacob Mills is trying to scoop it there into the net in front of Greenfield. Greenfield turns him away. As you mentioned, Greenfield playing well for the Cyclones. But I think if you broke it down and you said where was the pivotal, really turning point in the game, it probably had to be that penalty where the Eastern View was able to take advantage of it. And now on the run and taking a shot and scoring is number 7, Donovan Elliott. Now all of a sudden it's 13-7. It's more like a football score now. 2 touchdowns to 1. So obviously, Jeff, the Cyclones have taken control here. How do you see it?
Well, Donovan Elliott, one thing I mentioned about the Cyclones offense coming into tonight's game was when they get a fast break going, they're nearly unstoppable. And Donovan Elliott right there scoring once again. That is his 4th goal this evening. So I'm going to figure out how many other goals, and I'll let you know, Mark, exactly what everybody has. But Donovan Elliott right now has 4 goals this evening.
And I think they call that the hat trick +1, right? On the run, taking a shot. He is number 2, Cole Plaster, unable to convert there. Jacob Mills, closest man to it, will inbound it for the Blue Devils. Now, the clock will start becoming a factor for the Blue Devils here. They're going to have to score quickly. Mills tries it on the wraparound, unable to even get close in terms of his shot being offline. But they do keep it, and here's Bonfadini. And back over to Cole Plaster. 7:10, clock running. Here's Plaster on the move. And it looks like he lost it before he could unleash the shot.
Okay, Mark, so I have the breakdown. We've got Weeks with 5 goals, Elliott with 4, Brown with 2, and Edwards and Owen Butler with 1 each.
And that does add up to 13, just like that. And if if in the first and second quarter, let's say it would go as far as even halftime, if you just said, you know what, by the 4th quarter, midway through it, it's going to be 13-7. I go, no way. Here's Connor Weeks looking to add more. He got one-on-one against Riker Simpson, unable to convert.
That was, again, a fast break. When the Cyclones get into a track meet, it's tough to keep up with them. That speed of Connor Weeks, Derek Brown is sneaky quick. We saw Owen Butler down there running. So they've got some speed on this team. And when you get into a track meet with them, it's not likely you're going to be beating them.
And you know what, Jeff? If you're playing in goal, the last thing you want to see is a player breaking loose. You don't have a line of defense in front of you. It's just going to be you against that attacker.
That one-on-one is so tough. We've talked about it year after year. And Riker Simpson, for a freshman, doing really well right there, being able to defend and take away that shot from Connor Weeks. But now the Cyclones have the ball back.
Well, I think, and again, I'm surprised they've been able to develop this sort of lead against the Blue Devils based on how those first 2 quarters went. But, they're going to give them a lot of credit. They've taken control, and they've found different players to hurt you. And Derek Brown here emerging in the 4th quarter as their offensive sort of go-to player, if you will.
And Brown's going to have it now. I really like what Chris Frazier has done, drawing up the plays for his team, finding the strengths, and knowing when to push the buttons.
And coming around that wraparound, trying to scoop it in, was Donovan Elliott. He was turned back.
Mark, the second half really has seemed to move quickly. We really haven't had that many timeouts. We had an injury earlier in the game. Aiden Steins went down, so that led the first half to slow down a little bit, and Steins is now back in the game, so that's good news. But this has really been a speedy second half.
It really has. Coming away with it, Blue Devils trying to corral it. John Gillen there. Yeah, it really has gone quickly, and the fast pace and really little interruption is sort of hard, made it go really quickly as well.
Mark, we were talking about athletic directors earlier, and I saw Danny Knobs as we were coming in and waved at him, and another longtime Culpeper guy who's an athletic director here in the county and doing great work. I was going through my phone, typing in somebody's name, trying to find a phone number, and I came across Mike Wills.
Oh,
and I hadn't thought about Mike in a very long time, and I loved him.
Yeah, great guy, Mike Wills. Passed away too early in life, in my estimation. Always enjoyed Mike, and he was always very, like Danny, very responsive and
gregarious.
Yeah,
that is the word
gregarious.
that comes to my mind when I think of Mike Wills, the late athletic director here at Culpeper County High School.
Mike Wills, I think he'd come over from Louisa, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Was previously at Louisa, came to Culpeper. Really nice guy. Sad departure. Blue Devils winding up, taking a shot. Here is a save once more by Matthew Greenfield. And Jeff, you had pointed out what a good game Greenfield has had to keep the Blue Devils at bay while his offensive teammates have really surged along here in the second half.
Well, in that Orange game, we saw that Greenfield and the defense, they had a lot to deal with. And now in this game, when you see Eastern View's offense kind of taking over, that gives the defense, that gives the goalie a little chance to breathe and be prepared. And then when they're prepared, this is how Greenfield's playing. He is the rock down there. Nobody wants to climb the rock.
Well, this is Riker Simpson. Passes it downfield. I'll tell you once more, this broadcast is made possible by several of our supporters of Blue Devils and Cyclones Lacrosse. Taking a shot, this one was wide. Blue Devils, they've got to overcome a lot here, and quite frankly, they're going to run out of time. We're down to about 3 minutes and 20 seconds and counting. Monfadini takes possession for the Blue Devils. Aiden Steins was defending. Monfadini again. They come to this side of it, winding up Mills, and turned back again by Matthew Greenfield. What a nice save he made against that shot taken by Mills.
Real nice play. Mark, you were about to tell us about some of our wonderful sponsors that have helped us out this year.
Well, you're familiar with Found & Sons, more than a respected funeral home. They support youth at all levels so they can become tomorrow's leaders. That's Found & Sons at 825-3530. And what about Cash Imprints? From shirts to banners and everything in between. Imprint your message on the community with Cash Imprints. 317-1473. And I also want to mention Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, a keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community. 547-3673. And every time I think of Battlefield, and I always bring this up, I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but I always think of Jeremy Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
And you weren't here in '99, were you, when they won that state championship?
I was not. I was but a glimmer in Culpeper's eye.
But what a player Jeremy Bailey was. I mean, just so solid, and so consistent. I mean, he was the kind of guy, that, you just knew that game in, game out, you're always going to get that great effort. Not going to be injured, not going to miss any games, going to be tough, going to make the big plays for you.
Consistent.
And a lot of great memories. Thank you, Jeremy, and your former teammates for all the great memories you guys provided during that glorious, illustrious 1999 season. One to remember forever. So, Jeremy Bailey out at Battlefield Automotive, Scott Founded Sons. You mentioned Greg and Katie Venable at Able Heating and Air. Do you know anyone over at Cash Imprint?
I know Sophie.
You know everybody, don't you?
I not everybody, and the people I haven't met are just my potential friends. So Sophie and Kat are incredible over at Cash Imprints. They do a wonderful job of printing shirts and working with wonderful promotional items to help promote the area. So they had the Here for Good shop during the pandemic, which helped our nonprofits.
Well, I tell you what, Jeff. Next time you talk to them, tell them that we and I said, I really appreciate their support, and I hope that their business will flourish. Continue to do so. We appreciate our generous supporters here. Blue Devils and Cyclones Lacrosse. And again, I did not think this game would pan out this way based on what we knew about both teams and the back and forth in those first two quarters. But here in the second half, Cyclones really opened it up. Derek Brown emerged here in the fourth quarter as really their offensive leader. But they had, you mentioned the guys who've scored. They've had balance and distribution. Connor Weeks is not done. Connor Weeks catches it in front of the net, and it's an easy one-on-one situation. No chance for Riker Simpson as Connor Weeks once again scores. And Jeff, I think you're going to tell the viewing audience how many goals Connor Weeks has tonight. I think he's up to about 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Try 6.
6. The hat twick twice.
Hat twick twice. Thank you.
Speaking of those Looney Tunes,
Thank you, Sylvester.
Hey. Well, no, Sylvester's really my favorite character. Anyway, blurts out, hey, the hat trick twice. There's got to be a term for that. I don't know. Of course, how many hockey players do you see score 6 goals in a game?
Doesn't happen very often. It's pretty tricky to get that hat trick. So this special to see Connor Weeks score 6 here tonight. He's really taken the Cyclones on his back, led them here offensively.
And now it's 14-7. That's 2 touchdowns, 2 extra points for the Cyclones, if you will, using football parlance. And then you've got the Blue Devils with a touchdown and an extra point, 14-7. That's a close football game. It's not a close lacrosse game with 1:22 to play.
And we're going to have a penalty that's coming in against the Cyclones. That's going to be number 14. Douglas Cucciarini is going to be caught for, I think, a slash as the Blue Devils were trying to get the ball down into the offensive zone.
But one of the things that I want to point out is that it seemed like most of the penalties were in the first half, weren't they?
Yeah, we haven't had many. There might have been 2 here in the second half. I think we had, but that big one was the unreleasable in the second quarter. The Blue Devils were up 6-4, and then Eastern View went on a 6-0 run and took a 9-6 lead in the beginning of the third quarter. And that momentum, that shift, really set the tone for this game, Mark.
Yeah, it really did.
Another penalty.
And we're down to just under a minute to play in this one. Cyclones will get their first win of the season. But you mentioned in our pregame, even as early as a pregame, that this is going to be their first win in 2 years?
Yeah, they did not have a win last year, and they lost to Orange last Monday. That was something that Coach Chris Frazier was talking about, that they were looking to get over that hump, that they had lost all those close games by a goal or 2 goals, maybe even 3 goals, but they were always in the game. This is the first game that they have really, truly dominated. And to do it against the Blue Devils, I'm sure, is even extra special for Chris Frazier and his squad.
In Orange County, they were so happy to win last week. They really celebrated like it was 1999, as Prince once sang.
Yes, and that was, that was a good win for Orange.
It really was.
And Orange's goalie stood on his head there a couple times, and they really held off a late Cyclone charge. The Eastern View Cyclones are not going to need that type of heroics here this evening. They can just hang on to it and ride this one out.
Connor Weeks was able to shake loose, but I think it's going to draw a penalty against the Blue Devil defender. Derek Brown lines up, cranks it, and finds the net to make it 15-7. Plus, they've got a penalty to assess. No, they're going to wave it off, it looks like.
Yeah, I think after that goal by Brown, that'll that'll be sufficient. Brown with a goal with 33 seconds remaining. That is his hat trick here.
And he did it in the fourth quarter, right?
Fourth quarter.
Right. So let's think about it, Jeff. The names we've caught offensively: Aiden Steins,
Connor Weeks.
well, Evan Edwards.
Evan Edwards had a couple goals.
Connor Weeks, you mentioned.
Owen
yeah.
Butler had a couple goals.
Donovan Elliott.
Donovan Elliott had a few goals. Brown's had the hat trick here late in the game. So that's really been the offense for the Cyclones.
And then let's go to the other players. How about Nolan Natali in that? Here he is back to the face-off. Matt Greenfield in goal. Defensively,
Joshua Hott, we've called his name a couple times. Kaiser Abed has been down there battling. But defensively, really the best defense for the Cyclones to this game has been their offense.
And the way this one is going to end up, it's going to be might as well say it, a lopsided win for the Cyclones. And when it's all said and done, down to the final 5 seconds in this one, as Aiden Steins, I meant to single him out more on defense, rather, as the Cyclones will now celebrate this win over their crosstown rival Blue Devils. But again, as Jeff said, a win that's been a long time coming.
And what a nice win for the Cyclones to be able to come back in that second quarter, to go on that 6-0 run, and to come out here and win 15-7. This is not a game where they had to worry about coming back or worry about the team coming back on them and losing by a goal or so. They took advantage of that penalty, that non-releasable penalty. They built that momentum, and then they built a lead that they did not have to lose.
And you'd probably agree and say it's fair to say that the turning point in this one had to be that non-releasable penalty.
If I'm writing my story, that's in the lead. That penalty led to the Cyclones win.
Yeah. Well, enjoyed calling the game with you tonight, Jeff. It's always a lot of fun. And appreciate Johnny Krawchuk behind the camera. Our supporters, we've mentioned them. We're very thankful for them. And, of course, Nicole Wood back in the studio. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast in tonight's game. You're looking at Chris Frazier, head coach of the Cyclones and his team, giving them his assessment of this game and what to look forward to. I'm not sure what we're looking forward to in terms of our next game. The only thing I know for certain, Jeff, is that it's going to be fun.
Absolutely. Always enjoy calling a game with you guys, and thank you to Johnny and Nicole for making us sound and look good.
All right. Once again, our final score from Broman Field: Cyclones 15, Blue Devils 7. For Johnny and Jeff, I'm Mark O'Connell saying thanks for watching and supporting Blue Devils and Cyclones Lacrosse here on the Culpeper Media Network. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.
This broadcast is brought to you by the following community sponsors:
Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they are able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air, 718-7556. Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, a keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community. From shirts to banners and everything in between, imprint your message on the community with Cash Imprints, 317-1473. More than just a respected funeral home, Found & Sons supports youth at all levels so they can become tomorrow's leaders. Found & Sons, 825-3530.